get really, really specific because you're going to inject all that personality, which is what's going to stick in their heads. And that's how you want to write, is like you want to be memorable. And that's why people are going to listen to you, because they're actually going to remember, oh, hey, like I read this line and I didn't just glaze over and fall asleep. I actually can remember this person out of the sea of all the other service providers who offer the same exact thing.
Hello team, and welcome back to Alt Marketing School. It's Fav here, your founder and head teacher. And today I am very excited because I go down the rabbit hole talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer with another Buffy the Vampire Slayer superfan. So I hope you're ready for it. I promise we're also going to talk about marketing, especially copywriting, but somehow we just jump into sort of memory lane / kind of super fun contest, which nobody asked for, but I'm sure you are going to love. So who are we going to meet today? Well, we're meeting the wonderful Robyn. Let me tell you a bit more about Robyn LeRoy-Evans. She is, again, Buffy the Vampire Slayer super fan, but also the founder of ECHO+SCRIBE, where she writes personality-led copy for business owners and brands that give a damn about the power and influence of their words. Her approach to copywriting is centered on bringing the true you at the forefront, and we'll talk about that a lot. And also that kind of out of the coffin ways while amplifying your message and also making a bigger impact. As you can tell, we are very much in line with our mission, our values, and what Robyn does, and the way that actually she shows up is really, in line with what Alt Marketing School is all about. So if you're ready to learn a copywriting hack or two, the ups and downs of businesses, and also the craziest thing that we have done for Buffy and the Buffyverse, then make sure that you check out today's episode. Let us know what you think. Always don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure that you can get fresh new episodes coming straight into your YouTube every single time. In the meantime, all I have to say is I'm excited about this, so let today's class begin. Hello, squirrel friends, and welcome back to Alt Marketing School, today also known as the Buffy Appreciation Society. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Robyn.
Hi.
If you're not a fan of Buffy, probably this podcast will not be relevant for you because we completely changed the format, and all we're going to do is do references about 7 series of awesomeness. Thank you, goodbye. I'm joking. Don't you run away. Don't you run away, dear listener or watcher, whoever you are. Stay with us. Stay with us. I will add some Buffy references here and there because one of the... I don't know if it was because I saw it on your one of your profiles, Robyn, or maybe you mentioned it, or it was in your signature. I don't remember, but I was just like, there might be just somebody in this world who is as wildly mad about Buffy as I am. So I'm going to ask you now, before we even start with anything else, what is the most super fan thing you have done to consider you a super fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Okay. So when I was, a preteen, so in that tender time when you're like just blossoming and you're like thinking about sexy vampires for the first time, I actually wrote to David Boreanaz, who plays Angel in Buffy, and this was before the selfie existed, before the word selfie existed, but I had my little handheld digital camera, and I would take a picture of myself. I was fully clothed, don't worry. It was very innocent, but I would take what we now know as a selfie and send it to him in the hopes that, maybe he would fall in love with me and, ask, come get me because at the time I was living in the UK actually. So that was the most crazy fan thing I ever did. And he actually, I don't know if it was him, Fab, but I got a signed autograph picture of him in return, and it made my life. So
there's a couple of things to unpick here. First of all, thank you so much for sharing, because this was amazing, and it also gives us a pre-selfie sort of moment, which I love. Secondly, appreciation for autographed photos because they were a thing, and I'm obsessed because I love them too. And to be honest, I was the person that would wait after gigs to get like autographs of people on pieces of paper to be like,
yes,
I got this.
Yes.
So, this is our generation. But also the final thing for any other Buffy fan before we actually lose everybody else. There's always a thing about Team Angel or Team Spike. You're Team Angel, I'm Team Angel. Excellent. That's a starting.
Oh my gosh.
I'm actually going to say one thing before Robyn literally asked me to marry her. I'm gonna tell you one thing. My husband actually he designed our wedding ring and the engagement ring so that they are the Cladda ring together. So if you don't know what it is, look it up. It's like the Celtic ring.
Fab. I had no idea you were like such a fan too. This is like a total surprise. I'm just so excited. I am shooketh.
We literally brought up like some of the most random memories of our teenagehood, and I appreciate that we're here for it. So again, let us know if you're a Buffy fan in the comments, or like mention it to us, and like let's spread the love. If you're not, it just kind of shows you that the little things actually bring people together, Robyn, I'm going to jump onto something else now, talking about actually the teens and the young adulthood. After we went so far back, we're going to go a bit further up, but not too much. Do you remember what was your first job? The first job you ever had, and can you think about what you learned from that job?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so my first like proper job was in a coffee shop as a barista, and I learned a lot from that job in terms of like how not to like run a business and how not to like be misogynistic pigs. It was a very weird experience because I mean I made so many friends there, but the people that ran this coffee shop were, I don't know, they had some issues, I think, and it was very eye-opening as like a young woman working for these like men that would only hire pretty ladies and all of this. So like looking back, I didn't have any of the language that I have now to kind of call out that kind of, but even now I probably don't have all the language that I need because I'm still learning all of that. But it was a huge eye-opening experience because I realized that it's not always fair and equal in business. Like there's a lot of shady things that go on, and that's not how I ever wanted to, like, I think part of when I started going into business and like started diving into like the business world, you aren't always aware of some of these things that are going on. And then it's not till like you've kind of experienced some of them firsthand that you're like, okay, that's actually not okay. And that's not how I want to do things. So that was kind of, I mean, that was like a firsthand thrown into the deep end, like all this stuff happening around me that I didn't really have any control over because, it was such a high turnover rate too, which says a lot, in a cafe. Like if you've got a high turnover rate of employees, you're not, in any business, you're not doing a good job at making that experience a good experience. So you can kind of paint a picture here, Fab, of what it was like, but just lots of workplace. Can I swear, by the way? Okay.
Go ahead.
Lots of workplace like bullshit that just, at the time I kind of had to just ignore or keep my head down and not, and I wish now looking back that I had said more and spoken up more for some of these. Like, I really regret that. But anyway, it was a huge learning experience. I won't say too much more because I don't want to I don't know. I don't think that they're a business anymore. So
I think it's important though to remind ourselves of actually kind of those lessons, and like when we learn so much from the experiences where we see what we don't want to experience anymore, or how we don't want to do or run things, almost more so than maybe the positive ones. So I think it's really interesting to see like all these different things that really helped you in understanding. Almost like I love the fact that now you're giving a voice to people as well, like with obviously with the copy aspect of it and with the content and with the writing. So I genuinely believe that, there's so much power in our voices, however we use them, and actually being able to harness them is such a powerful thing. So I love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's so hard too, because that's something that I've really had to practice at is, using my voice. And it's funny because, writing really has been the vehicle for that. And I still sometimes struggle to actually speak up, but it's something that I've worked really hard on because, as a parent now too, I want to make sure that my kids grow up and learn how to stand up for themselves and speak out when things aren't, right. And then that's just something that should be standard, but nobody teaches you how to do that in a way that's constructive or in a way that just is impactful. And that's, it's all part of the human experience. We're all learning how to express ourselves more completely, and it's a forever journey, I think.
Very, very true. 100% true. And I love that you mentioned that. And I'm sure we're going to touch more on that as well as we go along, because there's going to be a lot of lessons, conversations that we're going to have. So I'm excited to see where these leads. Now, the problem is with my next question, I kind of think I know the answer. Maybe you're going to shock and surprise all of us. Robyn, if you could choose one trivia category you would be really good at, and you can make it up, obviously, what would it could be and why? I mean...
Well, I think you're right in the answer to this, because I do rewatch Buffy every year at least once, so I pretty much know a lot of things. But sometimes I sit there and I think about if I was asked a trivia question, would I be able to remember the color of the shirt that Sandra wore in this episode? I think about that stuff sometimes. That is how weird I am. I actually think, would I be able to remember what was on the Buffy's pajamas? Or so yeah, I would like to say that I could probably do very well in a trivia on Buffy, but then you never know, because sometimes they go really deep in those questions. For trivia, they obscure questions. I remember watching those shows with my dad when I was a kid, again in the UK, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or the University Challenge, not University Challenge, that's just way too high. But I can't remember. There was one show that I used to watch with my dad, and the trivia questions were always so obscure, and how would you know that? But some people can remember that stuff. I don't know. I think my best bet would be Buffy, for sure.
Amazing. I even better because you actually have been thinking about that. If that came up, would I remember the name of the villain or the name of the person? Who were they? What were they doing? It's one of those things where, for example, first of all, I genuinely love Buffy as an example of a coming of an age kind of TV series. So I just want to say that in case there are non-Buffy fans here that are seriously, team, is this going to be today's episode? It's going to be a lot more than that. But I just want to say there is some really interesting ways that you can look at it as well. But also it's these passions actually become those little insider conversations that actually connect people a lot more. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to sing the whole musical episode of Buffy, but I did learn, fun fact for everybody, just because the listeners know how cool I am these days, I actually learned the choreography of every single song, so I knew how to dance all of them. This is literally the kind of person that is here hosting this podcast.
I am so impressed. I am blown away right now.
So for everybody else, I'm sure every listener is wow, Fab, this is skills. But it just shows that then it's kind of funny, but when you connect with people, obviously expertise and all these things are great, but it's really the stories is the things that we remember. And I know we're going to talk about it today. And I think it's just nice to be able to share these stories, because a lot of the time we stop ourselves because I'm well, who the hell is going to care that I know all the choreography to Once More We're Feeling? That's the name of the episode, by the way. But there might be some people oh my God, yeah, I remember that she said that she learned the weird choreography from a Buffy episode. And then they remember, and then there's the association of Fab and Buffy, or Fab and whatever that might be, or obviously Robyn and Xander's t-shirts, and obviously Angel. So these things actually, funnily enough, then create a more personalized connection in an online world where it's so hard to connect with people. So,
Absolutely. I've had people come into my DMs who share all these other values with me and are awesome people, just doing what they're doing. We share the same business values and all of that. But then they'll say, I'm a Buffy fan too. And it's like, it gives them permission to admit this, because a lot of people like use that to like, and it's, I'm not saying it in a like a way to be, I don't know, I'm not doing it. I'm like genuinely a huge fan. And I used to actually fab, like I used to actually like hide so much of who I was and what I loved. Like when I first started my business, I thought I had to like show up a certain way and be, you know, a certain type of business owner, or like have a certain aesthetic in order to be taken seriously. And now I've like fully embraced like my gothic vampire loving heart, even though that's not like how I don't run around in like costume all day. Although I do live in New Orleans, which we love, you know, to party and have a good time and dress up. You know, it's something that like I've always loved, and it's always been like how I don't know, just it's funny because you almost have to like give yourself permission to embrace these parts of yourself that are like quirky and weird, because lo and behold, there's other people out there that are just as weird as you who are learning the choreography. I'm still in shock. And I want you to teach me now, because I never did that.
Okay, so just let us know if anybody else wants to see me dancing for one of the songs. And if we get enough responses, dear listener, please do me a solid. Let's make sure that this doesn't leak in the online world, but I know my people, that could actually be a possibility. So I'll leave it to the public. I'll leave it to you, dear audience. You listener, do what you want. If you want, ask for it, and I will show you one of the choreographies because they're awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Robyn, before I go off another tangent, I'm going to rein myself back in with actually a bit of a lead into our main section. The last thing I like to ask when we're starting out is, because of what we do, and the school is all about encouraging people marketing to hearts, not to brains. And we teach positive impact when it comes to our marketing. Thank you. Because this is what we believe can make a difference. So my question to you is, how do you make a positive impact on your audience? What does making a positive impact mean to you, Robyn, and why?
I think, you know, being a business owner, being a human being, you have a responsibility to yourself and to other humans that you engage with and interact with, like on a daily basis, but also in the business world online. Like, you have a responsibility to treat that other person with respect, and to be expected to be treated with the same respect. Because I think, especially like online, there's a lot of people that can like maybe take advantage of your kindness or your you know, generosity, or sometimes people just like, you know, all the trolls and whatever, all of that stuff is just, I don't know. I have no time for that. And I feel like it's really about making sure that you honor your own kind of boundaries and putting out into the world how you would want to be treated yourself. Like, it's a cliche, like, you know, treat others how you want to be treated, but it's so important, because I think it's so easy to forget that when everything's moving so fast, and when we have like all these small interactions that can easily be kind of overlooked or forgotten about, but they actually do matter. Like, it's those kind of micro moments in business and in conversations that we have that really, really can kind of make a difference to somebody that we're working with, or helping or supporting, or if like they're supporting us. You know, it's really about creating like a feeling that makes people feel like supported and comfortable. And I don't know, it's hard to put into words something that is kind of so intangible, but I think just for me, making an impact means like starting there. And then obviously there's so many other ways to create impact, but ultimately like the foundation is starting there and trying to be a good person to be around that invites that same sort of behavior. Because otherwise, what are we doing? You know, like what's the
exactly
what are we doing? And that's why I love your tagline too, because it's like it's all about like we're all humans before we're anything else. And so how can we communicate in a way that that honors that and celebrates that, instead of like putting people down and like bashing people. You know, there's a lot of people who have a voice, who have a lot of, again, responsibility, and who have a lot of power in the online world and the in real life world. I mean, there's no real like boundary anymore. It's all one, right? Because we spend so much of our time online. So I used to always like say in real life versus online, but it's all real life, right? So yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of responsibility as a biz owner to like, yeah, I'm repeating myself now, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And it's that kind of like human connection, and it goes above anything else because it helps you also make better decisions. And like when you're choosing what to say and how to treat people, like going back to that kindness piece, I think is so important. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, though, I'm going to put us on a pickle because I'm going to give us a time constraint now because class is in session, everyone. And we've got 3 questions. The first one is time to a minute. Oh Robyn, what is one thing? Well, roughly. What is one thing that you can teach before you panic our lovely students and listeners in 1 minute or so? If you could teach us one thing about copywriting, about messaging, about communicating, what would that be? One simple thing.
Okay. The first thing I would say, I'm going to give you like 3 quick tips. First thing, get more specific when you write copy, because a lot of people can like say on their about page, for example, like, oh, I'm, in my spare time, I enjoy going to the movies and I like to eat Italian food, but get more specific. Say like, you'll catch me watching the latest Tarantino. And when I'm hungry, I love to demolish a bowl of like bow ties, So get really, really specific because you're going to inject all that kind of personality, which is what's going to stick in their heads. And that's how you want to write, is like you want to be memorable. And that's why people are going to listen to you, because they're actually going to remember, oh, hey, like I read this line and I didn't just glaze over and fall asleep. I actually can remember this person out of the sea of all the other like service providers who offer the same exact thing. Get specific. Was that a minute? That was probably a minute.
It was, and it was great. It was great.
So you said one tip out of 3 done, yeah. But there's like 2. There's a lot of tips I could give you, but that took longer.
Well, if you want to give us the other 2, this is great. That we got the one. So this is like the official one. Then I can ask you what are the other 2 tips. You can definitely do a follow-up tips. They don't count into the minute, but yeah, if you have 1 more minute each, what would these other 2 quick tips that you were thinking about be?
I would say always read your copy out loud, and a lot of people kind of are like, what? Because first of all, you think you don't have time to read your copy out loud, but please do it, because when you read it out loud, you can hear how your audience is receiving your words, and you can actually better understand how your voice is landing for them. When you read it out loud, you can tell when you like are stumbling, or if something feels really unclear, like if it's like getting stuck in your mouth as you're trying to say it, it means that you have to rewrite it. Like, how is it going to be heard by the people when they read it? And so reading everything out loud will tell you like where you need to add in those pauses, where you need to cut stuff out. It's just going to make your copy sound much sharper and, again, more impactful. What was the other tip? I've forgotten.
The pressure mounted. Yeah. It's fun. This is actually a great tip, though. I genuinely love that, and I do that a lot as well myself when it comes to some of the stuff that I write, because it just makes it easier for me. And also it's funny because I'm going to throw one tip in there. One of my favorite things to do is actually dictating and use it as a tool to actually help me going with the flow and stop self-editing or overcomplicating things. So the first draft, sometimes I just literally use the dictation on my phone. I put it in a note, and then I can work through it. And I really, really like to do that. So just to kind of follow up on the tips you said, because I love them too. So Thank you.
Yeah. Not being afraid to like put a really crappy first draft together is like so important too. Like just get through it before you, like the self-editing thing. Oh my gosh, it's constant battle.
We call it the shitty first draft in the cohort during the certification, wherever we're doing something. So I just get the shitty first draft out. We can work on it later. And I think it's just like a mentality. So I love that you mentioned that too. Robyn, my second point actually is not about learning as much as it is about unlearning.
Buffy.
It's something that you unlearned recently, Robyn, and how has it impacted your life or your work?
So it's actually something that, well, it's something that I'm still learning, and it's something that I'm still trying to like, tap into more, because one thing that I've struggled with, like since starting my business, is feeling like I always have to maybe find, validation in somebody else. So like I've had coaches and I've had like mentors and everything. And when you have a coach, like it can be so great. It can be so helpful. Like I believe in the power of coaching and all of that. But when that stops and that experience ends, learning how to like listen to yourself and trust yourself as a business owner is so important. And it's been like mind-blowingly important for me, because I realized like in the last 6 months, especially when I actually stopped to listen to myself and what I want or what I think I should do next, I'm really wise. Like I know I have the answers. Like I know what feels good. I know what doesn't feel good. And I think part of that comes with experience and time and in the early days of biz ownership, it's easy to kind of get caught up in looking at others and like feeling like looking to other people for the answers, always looking to other people for the answers. And yes, there's always so much to learn and you want to like absorb all of that. But then at the time comes like when you have to stop actually looking to other people, like start with yourself first. And it's really hard because if you're indecisive or if like there's so many options, you're like, what step do I take next? What should I do? You do know. And even if it feels like really hard, I think just taking that kind of action and making that decision is just, sometimes you just have to do it. And then seeing what happens and like where the kind of cards fall. I don't know what that analogy is meant to be.
Yeah, I get it. You know it's really interesting as well because of what you're mentioning now, because my final question for you in this session is actually about a lesson that a teacher or a mentor has taught you. So I would love to see actually after you said that. And I think it's so important of that piece of self-reflection and actually listening to ourselves more and not just kind of, again, as you said, kind of listening to others, but using it as a way to kind of inform how we feel and our intuition. But yeah, now I'm wondering what, as one of the teachers or the mentors that you had, what is one of the biggest lessons that somebody else has taught you?
Well, actually, it comes from one of my best friends who's an amazing business owner too. Shout out to Molly at Moyo Studio, by the way. She said right at the beginning when I started my business, because I was really looking up to her and I still continue to like get so much inspiration from everything she's created with her husband. She's built several businesses like from scratch, and I'm just like in awe of both of them and so honored to like be her friend. And I feel that like she always said to me, Robyn, you can create the business that you, like whatever kind of business that you want. It doesn't have to look a certain way. And that goes for your life too. Like you can live your life however you want to live it. And she's a great example of that. But I really was so inspired by that when I first started. And like, I think I lost that along the way a little bit because from everything I just told you with the unlearning that, trying to look to the outside for answers. Now I'm kind of coming back to that idea where, okay, my business can look however I want it to look. And that is so important to hold on to because there's nobody who can run your business like you can. Like you are unique and you don't have to look like so-and-so over there or whatever that person is doing. Like it doesn't have to look a certain way or take a certain amount of time. Like go at your own pace and really just like embrace how you want to show up in the day-to-day and what feels right for you because nobody can do it like you can. That's my biggest learning, I think. And it's something that I just have to like hold on to tight when I have those days that are like, oh, what am I doing? If I'm like major imposter syndrome day or like major like comparisonitis day, I'm like, because I still have those days, of course, like we all have those days where we're just like, but look at them. They're doing this awesome thing. Like, why can't I do this, or why aren't I there yet? And it's not about what anybody else is doing. It's all about you and just kind of stay focused on your badassery because you're badass. Yeah.
See, just in case you need a reminder today, we're just going to give you the weekly reminder or the daily reminder that you're a badass. So you are welcome. Welcome.
You're a badass. Just like Buffy.
See, we knew we were going to sneak it back in there.
I had to.
You had to. And well done for doing it so smoothly as well. I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Now it's the this or that section. I'm going to give you two options. You're going to tell me which one are you going to keep. Robyn, this is going to be quick and it's going to be quick fire. It's going to come from all directions.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Okay, we've got a few options. We start with Spotify playlist or podcast.
Spotify playlist.
Excellent. Voice note or text?
Voice note.
Carousels or reels?
Carousels.
TikTok or YouTube?
That's really hard because I think YouTube, honestly, longer form. But then I sometimes get sucked in. By the TikToks.
That's the problem. Like, it's the short form, and they kind of like this the scrolling of it. It can get to you. I appreciate that. This one I think I know, but we'll see because it might be a contender. Memes or GIF?
Well, sometimes there's GIFs in the meme.
That maybe is the meme because you can have the gift in it. Oh, she cracked it. She cracked the code.
I love a good Buffy meme. You know me. I mean, well, now you know me much better. I know you much better now too, Fab. But I love a good meme.
Love it.
Love a good meme.
Last but not least, newsletter or Twitter?
Oh my gosh, newsletter all the way. Email marketing forever is in my heart. We didn't even talk about that, but I could have talked about that all day too. I love a good email. Same.
Like, I'm a big on email marketing too, so I'm really happy about that too. So yeah, everybody, just in case you reminder. And by the way, well done. This was our this or that. Look how smooth it went. No problems. We actually managed to find a loophole in the memes. I'm really appreciative of that. So I just got a couple more questions before we're off. This is one of my favorite questions, actually. I love to talk about tools, and I love to talk about underrated tools, or maybe tools that people don't know of a lot. So what is your favorite underrated or maybe not that well-known tool when it comes to you writing and your copy?
Oh, man. Can I say something like good old-fashioned pen and paper? I'm a classic gal. I need to write stuff down by hand sometimes. Like, I need to have... I'm very visual, too. Like, I love to have, like, Post-it notes and, like, maybe a little doodle. I don't know. I'm not a very techie person, Fab. Like, I know some stuff, but I'm really not like, I don't have all these fancy widgets and gadgets on my computer. Give me a pen and paper
as well. We'll take that too. You know what? There's and the Post-its and the little Post-its, because that kind of makes us visual and it makes us fun. I love that. Well, now I'm actually going to ask you though about your tech, because I'm actually going to ask you about your phone. What is the last picture that you took on your phone?
Oh my gosh. I think I took a picture of my breakfast today because I had a really rough morning with my daughter. She didn't want to get up for school and it feels like a battle sometimes. And so I bought myself breakfast before our podcast and I took a picture of my mocha and my breakfast and I posted it on Instagram.
Treat yourself. That's what I'll say.
Yes,
treat yourself. Well done.
It's not a very exciting picture.
It doesn't have to be. I think that like these days our camera rolls have become more and more a reflection of the day-to-day, like a bit like everything else we do, which, it's kind of nice. You like, actually using them to share memories. So why not celebrate the breakfast? Treat yourself. That's what I say. So you talked about Instagram. So now my question is, what is your favorite social media platform right now and why? It might be Instagram, it might be something else.
I would definitely say Instagram. I don't really spend time on any of the others. It's a love-hate relationship with Instagram for sure. I'm definitely focusing more on emails and really trying to, I've been pretty consistent with emailing like once a week, but I'd love to ramp that up a little bit because, we've already talked about how much we love email, but yeah, Instagram is kind of always going to be my number one because of the visual aspect. And like I said, like back in the early days of Instagram when it was just pretty pictures, I loved it because I'm an artist as well. So I've always loved Instagram, always.
Who should we follow then? If there's one recommendation, who would you suggest we check out? Just one.
There's so many. The amazing designer that did all my brand design, her name is Amy Greenwald, and she is over at Blue Raspberry Design, and her kind of whole thing is creating like sustainable and accessible websites and branding for the planet and the people, but in a really cool and fun, tasty way. So that's my little like shout out because she's she's a badass, and she's helped me so much. And like we've been each other's clients, and branding and copy just, branding and design and copy just are like besties.
They're buddies.
Yeah.
They're besties.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Definitely go and check her out then, dear listener. But finally, you have powers now. Not that you didn't have them before. You don't have Buffy powers though, because that will be super cool. But you have other kinds of powers. And the power, Robyn, is that you can broadcast one message onto everybody's phone. If you could do that, what would that message say?
It would say, the world needs your weird. The world needs your weird.
I would leave it like that.
Yeah. The world needs your weird.
I was like, no. I want us to make sure that we say goodbye and we know where we can find out more about you. But this honestly will be a great way to end, like mic drop, like throwing it in the fire and then just walking slow-mo with like things popping behind us, like the wilderness. But we won't do that today because I still need my office. But if you want to just oppose that, like that kind of like that, we can imagine that. But Robyn, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If people want to find out more about you, where should we direct them to find their own weird?
Oh man. Oh, it's been such okay, Fab. Thank you. You're fabulous. I'm sure you hear that a lot. But you are. I've enjoyed every second. I am mostly on Instagram at Echo+SCRIBE. And also come find me on my email list and on my website. You can sign up. But that's where I hang out mostly is Insta. So at Echo+SCRIBE.
Thank you so much again. And obviously, let us know what you think. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and obviously send us a little review because, good karma points and all that. Yeah. We will be back next week. In the meantime, as always, class dismissed.